Welcome back, everybody, to your Creeping Me Out podcast. I'm Maria.
And I'm Jessica.
And today we have another guest. Today we have Courtney Block joining us. Courtney is the author of 2 books, Researching the Paranormal and Encyclopedia of Parapsychology. She is a librarian, historian, researcher, and dare I say, fellow weirdo. But welcome to the show, Courtney.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. I'm so happy to be here. And yes, indeed, definitely a fellow weirdo.
Perfect. At first I was like, I don't know if I should put that, but I think I'll be okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, our show is obviously paranormal based. How did you first become interested in the paranormal?
Oh my God. I love this question. I have been interested in the paranormal my entire life. I feel like that's probably like the standard answer for a lot of us.
Yeah.
We just have like a natural sort of, sort of attraction to it. And I think I had read a book that was like Ghosts of the UK or something. And it was the Tower of London. And I think it also like branched beyond like ghosts, and it talked about like Loch Ness, and I was like, this is amazing.
All the classics.
Yeah. And so it's just been an interest that has, been with me forever.
I'm similar. I've always been interested in it, but I was terrified of everything until like my early 20s.
Yeah.
And then I researched it more and totally fell in love with all of it. But well, awesome. Jessica, did you have anything to add, or do you want me to?
No, but I kind of had a similar experience where I, would read these like, haunting type books or haunted books and, paranormal type activity. And it was always really fascinating to me. So I share that. It's fun. It really kind of like sets the mood for podcasts and, Netflix and, Hulu documentaries for, those types of things.
Well, do you have any paranormal stories or your most memorable that you want to share with us?
Oh my gosh, I've been thinking about this since you had asked a few days ago. And one of the stories that came to mind, and I feel like it's sort of under the umbrella of like the paranormal, the strange, it sort of involves a dream, like a warning dream.
I love those.
I see you both nodding, and now I'm curious about like your experience.
Well, it's kind of weird because later I have a listener story that I wanted to share about a dream. So that's kind of funny that you brought that up.
Perfect dreaming.
Oh my gosh. I had like no idea that is crazy.
Yeah. I didn't say anything to anybody.
Oh my God. Well, yeah, I'll tell you my story. So this was towards the end of 2020 when people were starting to maybe identify a small circle of friends that they were comfortable, maybe, friends or family that they were comfortable seeing. Those that were sort of comfortable with that were doing that. And I was supposed to go out one weekend to visit a cousin and 2 other friends, and we were all going to stay at one person's house the whole weekend. Everybody had been feeling fine and checking their symptoms and so forth. I feel like how weird it is, like, to say that, like, now, people listening, like,
Wild.
A couple of years from now will be like, what do you mean?
No. I think about that often, how crazy that year or 2 was of our lives. Like,
yeah,
just, I still can't believe that happened.
I know. Oh gosh. So that the Monday of that week, I was set to leave like right after work ended Friday and head down, just about an hour and a half away. So that Monday, I had this really vivid dream, and I always dream really vividly, so it didn't necessarily like bother me or seem out of place because I always have very vivid dreams. But in the dream, I was in a van with people from a book club that I was doing at the time, and we were driving on the interstate, and we had this really awful car accident. And like I said, I didn't necessarily think anything of it because my dreams are always very like vivid, and the the sort of content in them varies wildly. And so I'm going throughout my week. That Friday, I was working from home. I had just finished a virtual book club session. And I get all my things ready. I get in the car and I start to head to my destination. And I'm on the road for about, 10 minutes. I cross the bridge over into Kentucky. I live in southern Indiana. I cross the bridge over into Kentucky. And as I'm crossing the bridge, I get this like weird muscle spasm that's just kind of like, I don't know, like freaking me out a little bit because it was kind of intense. And I was like, yeah, I'm driving and like I sometimes do get driving anxiety. And so I was kind of worried that I might be, having like an incoming, like anxiety attack. And so I took the very first exit off the bridge and looped right back around and came home and decided that I would just chill out for a while, maybe get some water, maybe have a snack, and see how I felt. So I'm sitting at home. I don't have like the muscle spasms, like they're gone. I feel fine. So I'm just like, well, maybe I didn't have enough water. Maybe I needed a snack. I don't know. I'm feeling fine. So I get back in my car. I take the same route. I start to go across the bridge, and I swear to you, at literally the same spot as I'm crossing the bridge, those muscle spasms start coming back. And I know, right? And this time I'm kind of freaked out, and I'm like, forget this. I'm just gonna go home. I'm gonna tell the ladies that, I'm just not feeling well. That they totally understood. Everything was fine. Right. So I go home and I'm a little sort of freaked out, but I physically felt fine the rest of the day. I wake up Saturday morning, get in my car to drive like not even a mile down the road to the Dollar Tree to get whatever I was getting. And in the parking lot of the Dollar Tree, like my car completely breaks down. There's like smoke coming out of like the hood. I'm like, what is happening? And like, it still does not dawn on me till like the next day or later that day that had I continued driving, I would have been on the interstate when my car broke down.
Broken down on the side of the road. Nope.
Yeah, that's strange.
It was very strange. It's all the synchronicities of like,
yeah,
like my book club, the interstate, the car. I'm like, what is happening?
And the fact that you had it happen twice.
Yeah.
In the same spot.
Right.
Crazy.
I have sort of, I totally think that there was something weird going on there.
Like
some sort of message, some sort of meaning to go home. And also too, that like experience has kind of, I feel like, empowered me to listen to my body more. Like right now I'm kind of dealing with some weird like joint pain issues. And in the past, I feel like I might have just, powered through them or been like, no, it's okay. I can still do this, this, and this. And now I'm just like, my body is telling me.
Right. I know.
Well, especially those sensations that you really wouldn't normally attribute to something real, something that you can like act on.
Yes.
And I've felt that way before.
I was gonna say,
Really relate to that.
I feel like Jessica, when she was telling this story, I kind of was thinking that you've told me something similar like this before, but I don't remember.
Yeah, it was a train situation that.
Oh yeah, we talked about that. Yeah.
I was like, I totally felt that. I take on a lot of feeling, and so I pay attention to how I'm feeling, and if I start to feel like something's wrong, like it's hard to kind of pinpoint what exactly that looks like or feels like, but I try to pay attention to those signs because I feel like I'm feeling that way for a reason. And so, Courtney, I mean, from your story, it could have been a lot worse too.
Yeah.
Like,
Right?
that's what I'm thinking of. Like, I feel like it could have, your situation could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
Just your car breaking down. Maybe you broke down and, someone didn't see you. And
Missed that accident. Yeah.
yeah. And so, thank goodness you had the foresight to like listen to your body that night and just turn it right around. That's fantastic. I mean, we got to pay attention and listen to our bodies and how we're feeling.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Any other stories that you want to share before we move on?
I'm trying to think. Why is my brain like, I know that I have like,
Put you on the spot.
I know, it's good. It's good. Like spooky stories. I'm trying to think of. I have kind of a funny story. This was maybe not too long ago. So I work. I'm a librarian. I work at a library, and my office is on the. I like to joke and call it the basement. Even though it's just the lower level.
Right.
And I was staying after work one evening. Everybody had gone, and my section, like where my office is and the library, is not like out in like the publicly accessible area anyways. Like even if we had still been open, you got to go through like a little staff door to get through. So I'm sitting there at my desk, and out of the corner of my eye, I swear to you, I see pants. Like somebody has walked past my door, but all I notice of them is like that they're wearing pants.
So weird.
And it was like that was the only detail that I really noticed, not like, oh, there's a whole shape of a person that just walked past the door, like I'm gonna get up and see what they need. It was just like pants just kind of flitted through like my vision, like the corner of my eye, and I look over there, and I knew like everybody was gone. But it's kind of funny because our library has a bit of a reputation for being a little spooky, and other places on campus, as well have had, some kind of strange things. But that's a funny story.
It is funny. You know what that kind of reminds me of is, I just got that. Have you guys seen I think you have, Jessica, the Haunting Hill House, or the Haunting of Hill House, or whatever that's called?
I love that.
Netflix? Yeah.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that scene when she's like, I think she's under the bed. It's been a while since I watched it, but all you could see were the legs, and it was just like pants, and it was like floating. It's like they couldn't, in your case, it's like they couldn't manifest everything. All they could manifest was their pants.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. It kind of reminds me that on my campus, I work at a university library. I do a ghost walk every October.
Ooh.
And I started, I think back in like 2016, started asking around, for people who had, paranormal experiences or strange things, digging through the campus's, newspaper archive. And I chatted with a friend of mine who said that not in the library, but on a different part of campus, that she had a very similar experience where she was working one day, distinctly sees like the shape, like the outline of a person, the figure of a person, like at the doorway, who just kind of sort of like peeked around, looked like they were going to say something real quick. And she said she was finishing an email and she was like, I'll be with you in 1 minute. And in the time it took her to say that and look up, the person was gone. And so she gets up, looks down the hallway. There's nobody there. And it's like it's like one of those offices where it's like a straight sort of hallway.
Yeah. Gosh. Those ones always trip me out because it's like, you know that they couldn't have ran that fast, in that split second.
Right.
Yeah. And you know what you saw. So.
Right.
Oh.
Great. And yeah, that one's definitely creepy because it's like, you saw something. You felt it there as if
you spoke back to it and no, nothing there. So I guess let's talk a little bit about your book. So you have the researching of the paranormal book.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. I love telling people the sort of origin story of this book. So
yes.
I remember. Okay, so my motivation for that one, ever since, being a librarian, I mean, people will ask you, to help with finding all sorts of, bits of information. Before I was an academic librarian, I was a public librarian, and I would get all sorts of questions there from people, hey, do you have books on ghosts? Do you have books on, aliens? Like, I'm trying to, find books like that. Also, people would come in and say, I have strange things happening in my house. Like, can you help me research the history?
Wow.
Yeah. And those types of questions continued, like paranormal questions continued happening when I became an academic librarian, but I noticed, like, primarily it would be students who would approach the reference desk and say, they would say like one of two things, and they would say, I'm interested in doing a research paper about, the paranormal or ghosts, but there's probably no credible information out there on that, so can you just help me find a different topic? Or they would say things like, you probably think I'm crazy, but I'm interested in ghosts. And like, I started to really think about how unfortunate both of those questions were, because nobody should be ashamed of having an interest in, whatever. And also, too, just the fact that there is this huge history of research into topics like, ghosts, ESP, that people have done and are continuing to do. And so I, started musing about like how interesting it is that people just don't tend to not know that. And then I happened to see like on an email, like a listserv email come through that a publisher was accepting ideas for their next round of, research reference books. And I kind of flippantly was like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if I could, write a book about the paranormal as a reference guide. And I sent my idea totally thinking, I was like, whatever, they're gonna just be like, what a weirdo. And But they emailed back and they were like, tell us more.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
And that's pretty phenomenal. What have I done?
Now I have to write a book.
Yeah.
So but the book, basically Researching the Paranormal, is, I like to describe it as a big annotated bibliography. It highlights the history of scholarly inquiry into the paranormal, a whole different topics. It also highlights some universities and museums and collections that have, you know, paranormal resources, paranormal collections. And then it's basically like a topical annotated bibliography, the rest of the book, to basically just show to people, hey, there is this really long history. Here's where you can get started. Yeah.
And then the Encyclopedia of the Parapsychology, that's the newer book that you wrote, correct?
Yes, yeah, that came out in October of 2022.
It has the most like something that surprised you, like in, you know, the research for the book or just putting the book together. What was the thing that really surprised you or like shocked even you, kind of in gathering information, or, you know, like I said, in the process of writing the books? Was there anything like that really surprised you or shocked you or really kind of like blew you away?
Gosh, I love this question. I'm always kind of shocked by some of the research that you come across, because, like, as I'm sort of gathering my thought with this, these researchers, like, both, you know, historic research sometimes has its, you know, sort of faults and weaknesses, but modern research, especially, like, as I was diving into the annotated bibliographies of, you know, more recent research into things like, you know, ESP, psychokinesis, like hauntings, just some of the findings, I was like, wait a minute, these researchers are, you know, they're doing solid research. They're adhering to standard measures of, like, the scientific method. They're applying, you know, agreed upon statistical tests and measures to these experiments, and they are finding statistically significant results, you know, especially for things like extrasensory perception. And it's like, wait a minute, they have proven in these tests that, sure, it's not, you know, these huge statistically significant numbers, but they're still, the data that comes out of their experiments are still positively statistically significant. But critics, you know, they'll say things like, well, it's a very it's a very small statistically significant measure, or it's not able to be replicated exactly, which I understand, you know, it is, you know, can be a solid criticism, but parapsychological researchers have come back to that specific critique and said, well, we think it's more of an issue of the right people, like the right people at the right time, not necessarily that these things are conducive to clinical laboratory reproduction.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me to ponder, like really ponder, like the implications of what some of these research studies are saying.
Yeah.
It's just fascinating.
That kind of reminds me too. I was just looking it up. This podcast I've been listening to called Otherworld, and I think I've mentioned it on here before, but if you haven't checked it out, you should, because it's really good. The host was he considered himself to be a skeptic, about all of the stuff, and since he's interviewed people and talked to people, I mean, all the stories on there are pretty crazy so far. But the one that came out this week was part of a series that he did. And I don't know if either of you have heard of it's called the gateway process. And so basically it's what he posted was in 1983, the U.S. Army and Defense Intelligence Agency conducted a secret investigation into the Monroe Institute, specifically their research into astral projection, meditation, and what you just mentioned, extrasensory perception. But part of the investigation was declassified in 2003, and the Monroe Institute claims to be able to induce altered states of consciousness using acoustic waves by forcing the brain to oscillate at specific frequencies, unlocking the extrasensory abilities humans normally cannot access. And that technique is called the gateway experience. He just did a whole series about it, which is so interesting. Conveniently, when he posted the episode, there was something happened when he uploaded it, and nobody could listen to the episode. And yeah, it was really strange. And he was just like, I don't know if that's a coincidence. The CIA and the FBI, he's like, might be involved in that. He's like, I'm not gonna even, say that it wasn't, because it could have been. But that's kind of what that reminded me of when you were mentioning that, because I have not been able to delve into this whole thing yet, but it sounds very interesting. Yeah, like you said, with the research on that stuff, it's just crazy, like what the human body and mind is able to do, and it's fascinating.
Yeah, it really is. And it's really fun, I think, and awesome that there are, researchers and scientists out there who are like, hey, let's set up an experiment about this. Let's see, what we can learn, who see and recognize the value that the sort of paranormal, for lack of a better word, has, like, in our lives. And I just think it's so fun to be able to be like, you're telling me I can read a research study about some people that did a test about psychokinesis, and it's just kind of fun. And also too, I feel like, so many of us weirdos, like, we don't necessarily need the confirmation. Like, we have experienced strange things. We know that this world is a weird place, but it's just fun. And I think also too, I like to another reason that I wrote my books is because, I think about those students at the desk, and I'm just like, the academy and the world can be such an othering place.
Yep.
And so I'm like, I want to just put myself out there as a weirdo and write these books and be like, if you are here at the university, if you're here in the academy and you're interested in these things, your weirdness belongs. Weirdos unite. Yeah. So I don't know.
Not doing that. I mean, that really does. Someone like me, I think I mentioned in one of our previous episodes, I still kind of feel funny about, admitting that I'm into the paranormal and weird stuff like that. So thanks for giving people like that an outlet to find resources and not feel quote unquote alone, I guess, in that world. But I did want to mention one more thing about that gateway process here. The CIA took over the project, but they denied its existence for years. and then later said it did not produce conclusive results. But then the lieutenant who oversaw the entire operation for the U.S. Army Intelligence went to become the president of the Monroe Institute. So I don't know what that tells you, but
Interesting.
pretty interesting stuff. Yeah, so I've got lots more research to do on that, but it kind of reminded me of that when you were mentioning that. But I also was gonna ask you, I was gonna do some like rapid fire, not rapid fire, but things that if you believe in them or not, and maybe we can elaborate on them a little bit. But
Yes, let's do it.
Bigfoot.
Believe it.
Okay, good. Jessica?
We've talked about this one before. I don't know. I don't know. I think I'm on the fence. I'm open to it.
I think that I'll give you my 2 cents. I think that he is, or she, is an interdimensional creature. Or I recently heard from my 2 favorite human beings, Greg and Dana Newkirk, that Bigfoot is a ghost, which I never even thought of. Aliens.
Totally. Yep.
I mean,
10 out of 10.
I do. I do think that aliens exist. In what form? I don't know.
right. And in the green men with the big eyes, I'm not sure. The long arms.
Right? Oh, God.
I thought it's so creepy. What's that land? Oh, I remember one. Loch Ness.
Yep. I'm here for it.
I do.
I don't know if I believe that it's, I feel like it might be like a Bigfoot thing, or honestly, it could just be living under the water, and there's caves under the water. I mean, you never know.
Wasn't there some research about like it being kind of like an eel type of creature?
Recently, I think they came out with something like that. Yeah, you're right.
So, to me, Loch Ness is weird.
It's gotta be. There are so many species of animals that we have not even, discovered yet. Black-eyed children.
Yes.
Jessica?
I don't know. We had that whole episode.
We did.
If they're real, that's creepy as heck.
Yeah.
I don't want to believe that they're real, but
I know.
I don't want to believe that because that's scary. Get the children some help, as I previously said.
Call the police.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. What was the other ones? Man, I suck at this. I was trying to...
You totally don't.
Good thing there's editing, and I can just edit all the other stuff up. Demons. Do we believe in demons?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, but oh, God. That's one that I sort of like hate to say yes to, just because I feel like it's used as a scapegoat and used in like lots of really unsavory ways.
Yeah, I agree. To me, they are. I don't know if any of you have seen The Exorcism of Emily Rose or any Exorcist. I've never even seen The Exorcist, but those movies terrify me because growing up Catholic, I mean, demons were very real. They are real, and they will eat your soul. So they've always terrified me the most.
When I look at demons as like a more nefarious kind of ill-seeking paranormal entity.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So I guess maybe the definition of what we feel a demon is.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's subjective based on the person. I feel like maybe different people might feel different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. I think you're totally right. Yeah, like I said, it depends on your background, how you were raised,
Oh, yeah.
what movies you watched that terrified you until you slept or couldn't sleep anymore.
Right.
The melon heads.
Yes.
Never heard of it.
Never?
Never heard of it. I don't know what that is.
They have, I feel like every state has a melon head. They are just generally described as small humanoids with bulbous heads, who emerge from like the woods, essentially, is always where I hear that they come from. Michigan, where we're at, Jessica has the melon heads, and I believe it's where I'm at on the west side. Saugatuck
Oh.
has a story about melon heads.
I will pretend they still don't exist. That sounds terrifying.
The story for the melon heads in Michigan are the doctor that he did a bunch of experiments on these children, and I'm probably missing a lot of details to this, but just off the top of my head, from what I remember, and let them loose into the woods, and that's where they reside.
Good God.
Courtney, wait, did you say that you believe in them?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm missing out on some very important.
I love this because I can always surprise Jessica by all of these crazy things that she's never heard of before. I'm opening her up.
Oh my gosh. But it's so funny though, because like, as you asked, like, you know, you had this sort of rapid fire, you know, game. And I was like, you know what? I should just preface this by saying that my answer is going to be I believe in it all. Like, I like literally like everything. Yes, sure. I believe it because yeah, why not? So much of it, I think, too, is like wrapped up into the, like you were saying, Jessica, the subjective ways that humans experience the anomalous and experience the world around us. And I don't ever want to be that person that like tells somebody, like, did you see a thing that you described as a melon head walking out in the woods? Well, I am here for it. Like,
I want to hear all about it.
yes, let's have a beer. Tell me.
I love it. Yep.
Yeah, I agree.
Men in Black.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, totally.
Wait, didn't we talk about this?
The Men in Black are associated with basically any UFO type stuff. So a lot of it came, or anything, well, I guess not just UFO, because I believe Mothman story had a little bit of Men in Black tied to it, like, in a way. But anything, so really, the Men in Black, if you, aside from the movies from the 90s, they have been known to, if you tell a story about a UFO that you saw or something unexplainable in that realm, they've been known to come to you, wherever you are. They know where you are, and basically tell you to never speak of this again, threaten you. And I think some instances people have been threatened, but they always are very tall, like pale,
In black suits.
dressed in all black with hats, and are creepy, essentially.
I feel like I've heard some stories about this.
Yeah.
And I probably have to research to like dig up those stories. But if I'm not mistaken, when I read, there was like I can't remember what the circumstances were, but I read one story, and if it's exactly what I remember, I totally believed it because they were caught on camera.
Yes, Jessica, that's crazy. Is it the hotel one? Is that what you? That's crazy. We're both thinking of the same one. Yeah.
What? Oh my gosh, I'm Googling.
Because they were caught on camera and they showed like surveillance video. It was surveillance photos.
Yep.
From the hotel. Listen,
Front desk.
for the circumstances, I don't feel like prepared to like explain. But 100% yes, I believe it because of that story. Whatever.
No, now I need.
I was like, absolutely.
Because
feel so fired up about the story. Now I need to go research and figure out, because I can't remember the last time I read that.
I don't feel like it was very long ago. It was pretty recent.
It feels pretty recent, yeah.
But yes, that is crazy that you must have shown it to me or something.
Maybe you showed it to me.
Maybe. I'll read what this person posted about this. I don't even know what this website is, but this is exactly what I remember hearing about. But in 2012, and the Aerial Phenomena Investigation Team, API for short, received security footage from a hotel manager named Shane. It's from a hotel in Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada, called Sheraton Fallsview Hotel. The video itself is of two tallish men in black trench coats and black fedora hats walking into the hotel. Okay, so this is the guy talking. He was just like, one of my bellmen approached me, and he kind of had a weird look on his face, and he asked, he says, can we go to your office and talk? He said, something really weird happened yesterday, and you weren't here. There was a couple of guys looking for you. This is hard for me to say, but there's a couple strange-looking men that were here, and they were kind of freaking everybody out, and they're asking questions about you. And of course, he said, and the guy says, of course, now I'm getting a little nervous. What are you talking about? And he says, I don't know how to describe them except for extremely odd-looking. They were really, really tall, and they were identical height, and they were the exact same height. They were wearing the exact same clothes. And they had the exact same face, like they were twins. They were wearing all black. And they were very pale. And they had looked around a little bit. They asked for you, and I said I was sorry, but he's not working today. And it seemed like they didn't believe me. So they started to walk around the hotel. And shortly after that, they went to the tour desk. Before I knew it, they were gone.
We talked to the men. They described them as tall with extremely pale skin and no visible facial hair, including no eyebrows and no eyelashes.
What?
Their eyes were just being so big and so blue that they almost hypnotized.
Ew. If that were to happen to me, I would probably pass out. I don't know what I would do.
It's super. They're on this camera, I believe.
That is so creepy. That's a scary one.
Ooh, I know. I just got the chills. We always end up talking about aliens, Jessica, in here at some point, freaking ourselves out. I think that aliens do scare me a little bit more than anything else.
Yeah, because I feel I'm with you, Jessica, and I feel like, you know, with ghosts, a lot of people might think, oh, it's, you know, connected to, let's say, a disembodied spirit of this or that person. And so it's like, while it's still kind of unknown, it's also, there's that aspect of familiarity. Whereas with, like, you know, aliens, it's just like, I have no context.
Whereas, you know, with aliens, it's like, okay, you know, some people may have had experiences where they have seen, felt, touched, I'm not sure. But because it's not rooted in something tangible that you can see, hear, you know, touch, it's, you know, a little more kind of out there, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Whew. Well, I do have that listener story that if you guys want to listen to it.
Let's do it. I'm excited to have my real-time reaction.
Okay, here we go. So this is from a listener named Kendra. She says, hi, my name is Kendra. If you decide to read this on the podcast, feel free to use my name. I was listening to your third episode where you started talking about dreams and weird experiences with dreams, and I have a short one to share. In 2011, my grandfather passed away, and then 5 years later, my grandmother followed. It hit me hard when both of them went because I was very close to them. But when my grandmother passed, it hit me really hard. I had a sudden heavy anxiety realizing my own mortality. I was 25 at the time, so it wasn't like my own mortality was new to me or anything. But you know that moment when someone is there and then gone the next? It was that kind of shock and grieving that shook my core. it shook me to where I had problems sleeping for the next month after. Not long after, though, I had a very weird dream. I was in a blank space, just pure white, and my grandmother was facing me. My grandfather was too, but facing away from me. My grandmother told me that everything was okay and basically not to be afraid. Somehow I ended up asking her how it felt, and I received this enveloping feeling, I don't know if I said that word right, of what I can only describe as pure serenity. I woke up not long after this dream, and all fear had left my body, and I had never have been afraid of death ever since. I don't know if this was my own body's way of going calm the F down, girl, or if I actually did receive a visit from my grandparents. I think she did. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my story, and I look forward to each episode.
Oh, that's such a good story, Kendra. I totally feel that. Like, your grandmother probably just, probably could just feel that radiating off of you and wanted to calm you down and let you know everything's okay. Or maybe that she's okay.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's a really beautiful story.
That was, wow.
I know. It kind of hit me in the feels a little, for sure.
I know.
I've had one dream. I had a visitation, what I believe it to be a visitation of my grandpa. And it was probably the most vivid dream I've ever had, and I will never forget it. But I can share it really quick. It's not a very long one, but I dreamt that we were having a picnic outside, and he was because when he died, he had dementia, so he didn't remember me, and he just, he was deteriorating. So he wasn't the grandpa I remembered when I was a kid. So in my dream, he came to me that way, where he was just a big smile and just rosy cheeks and, just the big jolly grandpa that I had remembered growing up. And we're having a picnic and we were talking, and he was like, because my grandma, his wife, had also passed away a few years before I had this dream, and he's like, your grandmother comes to you as a bird. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, that's interesting. And we were just talking, and then in my dream, I had a bird fly up into my face, and then I woke up after that, and I was like, wow, that was really crazy. And then later that day, I was out on the balcony I had, and I was just repotting a flower or something, and this bird out of nowhere came flying up into my face, like onto the balcony, like just like in the dream.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, whoa.
I love that.
Yeah. Dreams they're crazy.
I love
would probably break down in tears.
I think I did.
Oh my gosh, what a powerful dream in and of itself, but then that synchronicity of having that experience with the bird and
affirmation that's it.
I love it. Yes. And it's a perfect example of how I feel in those moments, you don't need validation from anyone or anywhere else other than yourself.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel that so much, that the experience that I had with kind of knowing things before they happen, I feel that. I feel like I know it's real, so that's all that matters to me. Yeah, so it's it doesn't matter if anyone else believes me. I know that it was real. I know that it happened, and that is all the validation that I need. It was such a wild experience that it just, I don't know, it's that chilling feeling.
Yeah.
Something like that did happen.
Right.
And that you just feel completely okay with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's also crazy too, because I just thought of this, but I have been seeing for the last year, actually since Emma was born, she's a year now, but I have been seeing hawks all the time. Every time I go out for a walk, I'll see them, And yes, I live by the river, so, it could just be they're finding food. But I don't know. It's different to me. Like, I never have seen this many hawks before in my life. Like, on my way home, I was driving home last weekend, and it's like an hour drive. And on that drive, I think I saw 3 hawks.
Wow.
And that's not, like, I don't know. I don't see that many hawks ever. So I'm wondering if maybe it is my grandma, or maybe it's my spirit guides or something like that watching over me. That's what I like to think. But
yeah, that's awesome. And I feel like if that's what you like to think, then
why not?
Why not?
Yep.
Why not? Find like meaning and comfort in like the world around us. Like, why not?
Like, sure, they could be finding a dead mouse in the field, but also at the same time that I'm driving.
I like finding meaning in the world that we're surrounded by every day.
Yeah. If not, it's just a boring life. Like, I was thinking earlier too, like how much I hate trying to, at the end of the day, it's always so hectic. Like, get dinner for Emma, get a bath. I have to cook. Well, we have to find dinner for us, and we're just exhausted. And I'm like, why? I could just find magic in doing those basic things that I have to do. Otherwise, it's going to be boring to me and exhausting. So,
yeah, finding the good moments, the peaceful moments, just being like present in those moments, I think. Can give them really, really good, fun experiences.
Yep.
Gosh, I like how you both were just like talking about that, because I mean, having this sort of paranormal, magical worldview can help us like in these sort of, mindful ways of like, okay, let me just, seek out, the magic in this, hectic moment of putting together dinner or, commuting or this or that. Yeah.
This is great. The mundane daily activities, we'll have to brighten them up somehow. Otherwise, we'll be bored forever.
I love that.
Well, Courtney, where can we find your books? Where can we find you, our listeners find you, and all of that fun stuff?
Oh my gosh. Well, I always like to tell people that they can get my books at their library.
Yes.
If your library does not have a copy, you can always ask them if they will get a copy for you. I don't think that's a thing that a lot of people know. I mean, that goes for any book. Like if you look and you're like, oh, I'm going to see if my library has it, and they don't, just ask them if they can get it for you, and then you can save your money. And
and the author still gets credit for it.
The author still gets credit. So ask your libraries. I mean, like, good Lord, it's so expensive being a human, right? And just get it from the library. And you can find me. I'm most active on Instagram under liminal.librarian. And that's where you can find me.
And you do some fun live videos also too on your Instagram sometimes too, correct?
Yes, yeah. I love to dig into old newspapers and find like just all these, ghost stories or strange UFO stories or,
just great. I love watching those.
Thanks. Yeah. It's fun to just dig through and read and enjoy them. Every now and then I'll get on there and read maybe like a scholarly article. Like we'll dissect an article and be like, look at this experiment that some people did in 2013 or whatever. But yeah, it's fun.
Well, thank you so much for coming today.
Thanks for having me.
We had a blast as usual.
Likewise.
Yes, we love it. Yes. Well, thanks again, and we will talk. Thank you everyone for listening to today's episode. As always, we love to hear from you, so please send us your listener stories to ycmopod@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter at ycmopod and subscribe to our YouTube channel so we can do some fun stuff over there eventually. If you like what you hear, pretty please give us a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts and share us with your friends. If you have episode suggestions or just want to be a guest on our show, also let us know. And last but not least, you can now support the podcast by going to anchor.fm/Maria-Jordan/support. Thank you all again and talk to you soon.